What's the business model for games, for esports?
Depending on different business operations, they will tend to have different revenue models. Last year, the most successful game was a game, Monkey King. Within 2 weeks, there was 20 million of copies downloaded and created close to a billion US dollar revenue. For some of the 20 plus games being competed in that World Cup, the highest prize money was 5 million.
Ideally, the situations is that you work with the gamers and their parents.
Yes, that's the best scenario. Every teenager is spending 1 or 2 hours per day.
Right.
But if you can build in a certain element of so-called career, besides I have a project, my own project in aerospace, you will see millions and millions of youths will have interest to become an astronaut in the next decade. And then the question is, what are they going to do on Moon?
Do you see any opportunities for cross business models?
Definitely. Recently, I'm in discussion with some hotel groups.
In a way, you are like an agency in Korea that takes care of those K-pop stars. So you do something similar, but together with the esport teams.
We not only act like a conventional sports agent, because we also try to enhance their profiles. We have a few thousand influencers. In some cases, because they have a few million subscribers. But imagine if you're a few million.
Yeah.
You're basically collecting 10, 20 million.
What kind of sponsors like to sponsor esports?
Computer equipment is one, but there are obviously...
What are the other bigger challenges?
Challenges come from two areas. One is
Tim, so for those who do not know you yet,
Right.
How would you describe yourself? What is your role, or what is the impact you would like to make?
Yes. I always describe myself having two roles. One, I'm a licensed fund manager in Hong Kong, licensed by the Hong Kong authorities. The second role is I'm also an investor entrepreneur, especially the new economy projects, including sports, esports, aerospace, online education, blockchain services, carbon credits trading, and last but not least, space plus agriculture and food.
Wow, they all seem to be very high-tech.
Yes, a little bit ahead of the curve.
A little bit ahead of the curve.
Yes.
So which one do you find most ahead?
If we're talking about the duration of the operations, the esports operation has a longer history because since 3-4 years ago, I have been trying to find a sweet spot in this sector. And now, after a few years of operations, at least for my esports global talents platform, we are the largest in the world. Today, we are now working with no less than 110,000 plus talents, mainly esports talents in different roles, because esports is more or less like IT, though the term is only one word, but it implies many different positions. And that's why we have no less than 50,000-60,000 of esports professionals, be it gamers, coaches, commentators, game designers, and especially in game designers, there are all kinds of technology. It can be Web 2 or Web 3, including blockchain services, tokenization services, etc. But we also work with about 10,000 of global influencers. And about 500-600 of those are top-notch ones, i.e. they have no less than 20-30 million followers per influencer. So together they have no less than 1.4 billion of followers. Yeah. But we also work closely with what we call the micro influencers, because micro influencers are usually more specialized in a specific area. For example, like someone, if they have been promoting Hong Kong tourism, then these followers from outside Hong Kong, they tend to revisit this channel from time to time to see what new offerings and what is ongoing in Hong Kong, etc. Yeah. And last but not least, I have a few hundred talents in the combat sports, the fighters. Oh. And they are in different combat categories, from kickboxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, etc. Yeah.
How did you find esports? I mean, how did you get into it? What attracted you?
Yes. Actually, esports, though of course the term, this terminology, it sounds like a little bit new, but for old timers like myself, I have played TikTok or Pac-Man. Pac-Man just celebrated 35 years of anniversary, and Mario or Donkey King actually has been around for 40 years. So of course, games have been evolving with new games, new technology. But even for these old games, they tend to revitalize from time to time. And 4 or 5 years ago, I was asking myself what would be the next big business. And then, of course, the underlying requirements is doesn't matter what kind of business, they will need to have a huge mass users. And these users, of course, if it can be include both gender, people with different cultural backgrounds, education, etc., then it will probably guarantee the successful development going forward. So the first thing that came to my mind was esports gaming, and but in order to make sure that this idea was on track and really have a prospect, that's why back in 2019, before the COVID, I actually spent about 6-7 months to travel to about 30 countries. And how I scheduled my traveling plans is south to Australia, north to Moscow, east of Hong Kong to US, Canada, and west to Spain and Portugal. And because in each of these destinations, I have spent time in meeting at least 4 to 5 so-called groups of potential partners. And these include, of course, the gamers or the gamers community themselves. A lot of these countries, they also have their own associations. The third is the government officials, including the ministries, because usually in every country there's a ministry of sports or youth. The fourth type are the major hub for these young talents, which is the universities and educational institutions. And the fifth one, including the potential corporate sponsors, because sponsors are one of the must-have ecosystem in every kind of sports.
Mm-hmm. So I understand the players want to play and win, but what does the audience get from watching esports? Is it, I mean, in the Olympics, you see many people in the stadium. How does it work with the esports?
I think there are two reasons why the audiences want to spend hours watching. First of all, they are the fans or players of that game. So they get some kind of satisfaction derived from watching. Just like if you are a football fan or basketball fan, though actually you may have no chance of playing once every year, but you still are spending hours in following. The second benefit is because there are so many different games out there. So if I am only involving or participating in the shooting games, doesn't mean I am not interested in following what's happening in the other type of games, for example, strategy games or online sports games like football, FIFA, etc. So there is no no shortage of varieties for these gamers. And of course, with the upcoming Esports Olympics, that will mean going forward there will be more conventional sports that have a chance to be have a digital version. And i.e., if you are, let's say, a baseball fan, then besides following the physical baseball events, you may tend to want to also see what the future online baseball will offer you.
Mm-hmm. Then my question is, do you think it will stay with gamers only forever, or do you think it's possible to reach out to other audience to watch it as well or be involved?
Well, at least the present global statistics on gamers show that there is no less than 3 billion population, including both gender, young and old. They are described as gamers. Mm-hmm. So it shows to some extent the esports is really a mass participated sports. And on top, from time to time, there will be new games coming up. For example, for last year, the most successful game was a game, Monkey King, mm-hmm. Wu Guang. And though the publisher spent about 5 years in creating this game, but within 2 weeks, there was 20 million of copies downloaded and created close to a billion US dollar revenue. So and that's why not only they are successful in a sense, they have created a global community of their games in only 2 months, but also the publishers also get rich by doing so. Right.
What's the business model? What's the revenue model for games, for esports?
That's a very good question, because just like I mentioned, esports is just a general terminology to describe the industry. But within industry, let me describe this way. Depending on different business operations, they will tend to have different revenue models. For example, for us, since we are the largest talents pool or management in the world, so of course there is a talents management revenue being generated. Usually in the format of sharing the prize monies. And not to underestimate this potential, because since last year summer, there was the first Esports World Cup being hosted in Saudi, the capital Riyadh. And this was the largest prize pool tournament ever being hosted. Though this was the first time being hosted, the prize money was $60 million already. And this year, there is a good chance that this prize money may be even enhanced to $100 million or more. So put it in simple terms, if you are one of the lucky quarter finalists or semi-quarter finalists, basically you are more or less guaranteed 150,000 or 200,000 US dollar participating fees. If for some of the 20 plus games being competed in that World Cup, the highest prize money was 5 million US dollar. I think the lowest one was about $500,000. Wow. So that sounds too good to be true, right? Even for if you are especially a teenager, though you have been spending hours, but at least if you can want something, then probably you can buy a house, a car, and move from your parents' house. Yeah. So this is the talents management model. We also offer talents. We also offer esports education and training, and that is more like a educational business model, i.e., tuitions, be it long term or short term, because the type of programs offered by us ranges from a few days to a few months. Yeah. Okay. And even we are flexible enough to either offer our own so-called program under our brand, or in some cases we are the white labeler ourselves, i.e. we just offer the curriculum to our educational partners, be it universities or educational institutions. Yeah. And of course, the most understandable model would be the game publishing model, i.e. they just like a factory, they create a new game for downloading, and doesn't matter whether the game is free to download or you have to buy all kinds of skins, you know, or those items. Now this business also is getting mature because for those very successful publishers like Tencent or NetEase, they have proven that their successful games tend to run much more longer than before, because in the past we always call the scenario the 7 years itch, i.e. once the game has been around for 7 years or more, then the players tend to want to try something new.
Okay.
Yeah, but now with the continuous upgrading, these previously successful games have been still getting strong. Yeah, but for myself, if I'm even considering enter into this upstream, what we call upstream section of the gaming section. And for me, I'm looking at simultaneously two types of game. One is what we call the Web 2, the conventional game. Doesn't matter it's in your mobile phone or on desktop or laptop or console. The other type is Web 3. Usually Web 3 games will mean it is blockchain based. And once it's blockchain based, then it usually have this ecosystem of tokenization. So it creates an entirely new ecosystem and interest for those especially tech-savvy youths and also the global tokens investors, especially now after the US presidential election. Looks like the interest for tokens investment, tokenization applications have been pick up a lot.
How to become a spectator for esports? Where do I have to go to watch it?
Basically, you just key in the game, the name of the game, and or followed by competition. You know, you immediately will produce you a good list. And this list, I think not only you can have access to those already completed, but there may be upcoming ones which you can also watch for free. I think that's the best benefit of being a gamer or what they call it, audience want to follow the development of games and programs. Unlike other conventional sports, football, basketball, though of course you can watch it on social media platforms, but usually these are the past ones which you don't get the so-called freshness. Yeah. And so this is basically the difference in the structure between the more conventional games and these more newer online type of sports.
Do you see any opportunities for cross-business models? For example, cooperating with fashion or perhaps education on a level where it could be profitable for both?
Definitely, be it the new gaming console, the new mouse, or the keyboard, also the energy drinks. So these are the more conventional marketing approaches associated with these online gamers streaming sessions. Yeah, but for example, recently I'm in discussion with some hotel groups in Asia, and my proposal is maybe they should consider enhancing their infrastructure with some gaming infrastructure, either in their rooms or they can have some kind of entertainment arena within the hotel complex, mainly because for you, when you're traveling, I guess at the evening, you have only two things to do, watching TV from your bed or go down to the bar. But supposedly the bar is not something that you go down and immediately make friends with everyone.
Yes.
But in a case of arena, once you start playing, people will gather, and you can do a better job in socializing.
I would imagine that parents are very concerned as to the screen time and as to the time that the kids would focus on playing the games rather than doing their homework, especially in Asia.
Right.
So how do you really convince parents?
I think before last year, it will be somewhat difficult to convince most parents because the reason, as I mentioned, since last year, there is both the fame and fortune elements available for the committed and successful gamers. The fortune part is just, as I said, tied in with the biggest prize pool,
Right.
The Esports World Cup. And the fame is because starting from this year, with the Esports Olympics to be commenced soon, maybe closer to the end of this year, with more than 200 plus countries eligible for participating. That will mean a lot of these professional esports gamers, some of them can become national heroes. Somewhat different from the other conventional sports because, as you know, for the regular Olympics, we are talking about basketball, gymnastics. The winners usually are only from that handful
Yes.
of countries, so there is no surprises. But for the esports, I guess for this first esports Olympics, you can see gamers and countries they're representing. Maybe you have never heard of before.
In a way, if I could make a comparison, you are like an agency in Korea that takes care of those superstars, K-pop stars. So you do something similar, but together with the esport teams. Yes, you train them, you
Yes.
give them the opportunities.
I think we not only act like a conventional sports agent, because we also try to enhance their profile. So that's why, just as I mentioned, we have a few thousand influencers. Actually,
Yes.
they are also gamers. But on top, we will try to introduce them a larger network because the network not only can include sponsors or corporates or brands, but they can also act as tutors. And of course, last but not least, because this ties into being a part-time or full-time streamer. And in the market, you can see there are some very successful esports streamers. They have no other income but the fans' subscription. And in some cases, because they have a few million of subscribers, and these subscribers, though they are not paying a lot of money, maybe 10, 15, 20 US dollar per month. But just imagine if you're a few million.
Yeah.
You're basically collecting 10, 20 million US dollar per month. So this sounds like quite a good business for someone who no longer especially compete. Yeah.
So your influencers, you are interested in influencers, they are mostly gamers. You mentioned also tourism and other areas as well.
I would say it's interchangeable. Like a gamer can start off as a gamer, but gradually move on to become an influencer when they have more time. Or an influencer, when they start off, they have some interesting topics, but after a while, they run out of these interesting topics to mention. So they gradually started streaming their games or the gaming process. So it can be two-way.
Okay. But then do you mind sharing the business model of that? Because then you talk to the influencers and then you share the profit with them by promoting them?
Now the influencers, we have contracts. Maybe to start off, we will just link them up with different sponsors or products and brands. But after a while, maybe if they feel comfortable for us to work together with them in also the gamers fostering process, then we are more than happy to expand our coverage.
Okay. Well, I think influencers around the world are very different. So do you work with all of them around the world or just the ones in Asia?
As I mentioned, we have close to 10,000 of these global influencers from 45 countries, covering the 6 continents. I guess now for younger generation, they have no issue or difficulty in starting their channel, or in multiple social platforms. So it's only up to us who are based in Hong Kong, because then we always mention ourselves as the super connector to see how to enhance the reach and enrich their content.
Mm-hmm. What kind of sponsors like to sponsor esports?
Computer equipment is one, but there are obviously these brands and corporates in the ecosystem, let's say mobile phones, energy drinks, these fashion brands, and the esports furniture. Of course, if I'm successful in convincing these hotel groups in involving, then it also involves tourism. And with the successful launching of the Monkey King, Wukong, it is one way actually to introduce the cultural and the travel aspects of China through this game. So let's say if this tomorrow there's an Egyptian game publisher, then Egypt has all the myths, history to promote, of course in a different new game setting. So that's why I'm quite optimistic about these games can infiltrate all kinds of different economic and social activities.
So if you could create a perfect ecosystem for esports, how would it look like?
I have been working closely with many of our partners, be it game publishers or other esports operators. The one objective is to build up our community ourselves. So that's why now we have access to more than 10 million of these community of gamers. Plus on top, our gamers also continue to stream their content. Now that's why there's no less than 600-700 million audience reach. So this will at least constitute a basic platform to work on, because if you ask a game publisher, usually they don't have that kind of privilege or resources. So in the past, that's why I describe game publishing as quite a risky business, because you can introduce a game, but you have no way to ensure that there will be users.
Yep.
Yeah. But in our case, if we are really venturing into the upstream of game publishing, maybe we already have a basic community of potential users.
Mm-hmm. You must have a huge team to manage all that.
We have a local team of 2-3 dozens of professionals. But on top, because we have this working relationships with gamers outside of Hong Kong. So through these gamers, obviously we can also extend our reach to other parts of the ecosystem.
And are you looking for any partners from outside, from around the world?
Yes, on a daily basis. I always try to reach out and hopefully connect with more partners, because this is how the new so-called social infrastructure is being developed. But of course, for example, for the past few days I was in Malaysia and trying to do the same thing, because basically in Asia, there are a handful of countries that are already ranked at the top in the esports community. Of course, depending on which type of games. Let's say if it's strategy games, then we talk China, Korea, and Taiwan, China. They are considered as the top tier in this strategy game development. But other than that, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, they all have good players being generated. Especially if you look at the Asian Games 3 years ago, at least it gives you an idea the availability of the good gamers and the related resources. Yeah. Having said that, actually, how I measure my successfulness in the esports is in the Asian Games. Actually, 2 years ago, Hong Kong has sent out about 30 teams, and more than 50% of those teams they are my contracted gamers. Yeah, but unfortunately, I think there's one deficiency because if I don't mention, nobody will know. Right. Because when they are competing, they are wearing, of course, the Hong Kong the uniform, and nobody knows, oh, this is from which so-called esports group. I think this is a little bit different from the conventional sports. If let's say again David Beckham was playing, at least he has the whoever, Qatar Air or whatever, sign logo. Yeah, so this may be one area I hope in the past the industry, especially maybe starting from Hong Kong, can try to remedy, because honestly, no sponsors is going to pay you millions without their logo or company name being recognized.
True. Yeah. So this is one of the challenges. What are the other bigger challenges in the industry as it is?
I think the challenges come from two areas. One is still there is a convincing work for the parents, because the parents only may have one solution, i.e. Put a plug and instructed their kids not to play. Of course, there are already good policies in China. For example, there was a recent announcement by the state stating that for those under 18, they are only allowed, I think, 16 hours of total gaming time during the Chinese New Year. Oh. Otherwise, this kids, because they have nothing to do, they are going to spend day and night and day in playing. So in China, I consider this a very considerate and protective ecosystem. But the parents, of course, they miss a few things. First, the kids nowadays, they don't listen. Okay, right. Even if you unplug the desktop, they can use the phone. And if you take away the phone, they will go out with their friends and use their friends' phone. So maybe the next best thing is to see how to work together instead of just one-sided. If you work together, then probably you can work out a schedule, and even contact us to see how we can do the rest to allow them to achieve the fame and fortune. Maybe if they are lucky, they already achieve financial independence with $3-4 million in a bank account by 21. Okay, wow. So the parents will have no concern. Ask the question of, what are you going to do after you graduate? There's no need for them to ask that question. And the second part is, of course, this gaming obviously is addictive. But everything, a lot of things nowadays are addictive.
Everything.
I was reading a documentary mentioning the electronic cigarette, and that is not only addictive, but is even harmful, extremely harmful to health. So I guess when people know human beings tend to be addicted to some kind of easy access habits or activities, then how the society is going to build around it instead of try to prohibiting 100%, which is very difficult. Yeah.
So ideally, the situations is that you work with the gamers and their parents.
Yes, that's the best scenario. And that's why one of our natural partners, they are the educational institutions, right. Be it universities or technical colleges or high schools. Yeah. Because I guess nowadays, even youngsters, everyone has a mobile. So they tend to already so-called having a favorite pastime of gaming, recess or on their way back to school or back home, you know. So conservatively, I guess every teenager is spending 1 or 2 hours per day. But how do you structure that in a constructive manner? Because if they are just for fun, I think that's a little bit too much, having every day 1 or 2 hours of fun.
Right.
But if you can build in a certain element of so-called career prospect, and that's why we used to usually use the term career development for gamers instead of how to make them play better. You know?
All right.
So it's a different concept.
It sounds very, very attractive. Parents might think twice before they
Yes.
say no.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, they may not know our existence, and that's why I hope through this program, someone will know we are here to assist.
I hope so. You do have potential to attract parents, because it is true that these days it's not only becoming a banker that makes you a rich person, right?
Yes. Maybe one more category is the astronauts.
Or influencer.
Influencer, yes. The reason I mention astronauts because I have a project, my own project in aerospace, and I can safely put this sort of insight into the next 10 years development in the aerospace, i.e. You will see millions and millions of youths will have interest to become an astronaut in the next decade.
So you think an astronaut job will become as common as a pilot of an airplane?
Not really, because of course now when you're talking about astronauts, your impression is someone wearing a spacesuit, and his tag is say doctor or PhD. But just imagine by 2030, both a few countries already have a manned mission landed on Moon.
Right.
And then the question is, what are going to do on Moon? Office for only 2 types of activities. One is research. That is totally suited for the PhDs and researchers. But there is another commercial activity, that is the mining. Because the Moon has all the rare minerals reserves in Earth. And they have, in Moon there's an abundancy. So that's why in order to make these operations commercially viable, mining is one of the most natural development. And obviously, I think the best miner will not be someone from the Ivy League PhD, but maybe someone coming from Australia miner family, or Brazil miner company, because their parents or their grandfathers have been doing that for the past 50 years now. So that will mean that there is a new breed of astronauts that may evolve now without anyone can imagine.
I don't think many people have thought about it, right? But then, do you see robotics and AI as a challenge?
Actually, AI robotics will be part of our everyday lives, even including gaming. Because my understanding of AI is database. So where are you going to get the better database than 3 billion of gamers, each trying to contribute their few hours of activities, on a daily basis to the data mining company.
AI is everywhere. We just have to learn how to live with it, and enjoy it.
Right.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Yes.
I think parents learned a lot. I think I learned a lot as well.
Hopefully.
I wish you all the best with your business and ventures, and I'll see you on the Moon.
Okay.